Welcome to another Scaling Brokerage Community podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Cary, go ahead and introduce yourself and your company. My
name is Cary Tamura. I am a real estate agent with The Agency in New York City. I've been doing real estate now for a little over a decade. I started in Colorado, and I came back to New York City, where I was from, after a couple of years of real estate in the Denver, Boulder area, and I've been doing it here in New York City since. To give a sense of the what I've been doing, my team has sold over $600 million worth of sale of condos and townhouses and co-ops, and I was ranked recently number 134 in Manhattan as far as brokers are concerned.
Okay. And then tell me what it took to get you there. I mean, you said you went from Colorado back to New York. Why'd you leave New York and go to Colorado?
So I left New York. I got married, actually, and my wife and I decided to put all our stuff into storage. We got a van and we traveled around the continent for 6 months, sort of camping and touring. And at the end of that time, we stopped in Boulder, Colorado to see some friends. And at the end of that time, my wife was like, I want to live in Boulder, Colorado. And so I said, okay. So we moved from the city to Boulder, and the rest is history.
That's a cool story. That's kind of neat. Not very many people would take that on, just doing that journey. Cool.
Yeah, it was a very memorable trip that I did.
Oh, I bet. All right. Let's talk about navigating challenges. I'm sure there's a lot of challenges along the way. Tell me about the biggest challenge you faced being a broker owner, and what you were able to do to overcome it and what you learned from it.
So I think that the biggest challenge I found was actually in the rebranding of myself, which I had to do twice. So on the one hand, I rebranded from being a musician for many years to being a real estate agent. That was the first time I rebranded. And then I rebranded from being in Colorado. I sort of did the same rebranding when I returned to New York City. And I had to sort of rebrand myself to my existing sphere when I moved back, even though I had already done it in Colorado a few years earlier. So for me, that's one of the things that I find, especially when you're talking to people who are, new to the business, that this is the way I think you need to think about it is, unless you are straight out of college and you've never really had a job before, and this is your first job is in real estate, then you have to rebrand, the way people think about you and perceive you in your sphere, and the people that your friends and family and colleagues, et cetera, to think of you as being in the real estate industry, to be top of mind that way. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about it as a rebrand of themselves.
Okay. Marketing and lead gen. How do you market your brokerage? What strategies have been successful in recruiting agents and growing your business?
Okay, so just so we're, to be clear, I am not the broker of record for the agency in New York. I am the leader of a team. And in that way, I find that the way I've been growing it is simply by placing ads. Occasionally it's by talking to people who I know one way or the other through the industry, and other agents that I know have referred people to my team. And then truthfully, I've used like LinkedIn with a lot of success. And then a lot of some of the team members I have right now have, we simply started a friendship or conversations about business, and then it developed into a professional relationship, which has also been pretty successful.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. A lot of people do, face to face, and then they start friendships, and then it turns into more than that. And then whether it leads to them coming to their team or business, I mean, it's kind of That's what I hear a lot is, just putting yourself out there. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think that there's when you go and you get somebody that you've never met before and you're doing recruiting that way, I think that, you can learn a lot about a person through a recruiting process, through an interview process and meeting a couple of times. But I think that the relationships that are most likely to last longer term, and I believe that good business is built on long-term relationships. Those come from people that you've gotten to know through the business, and say, hey, like you come to a realization, like, we get along well. I like this person, like they're motivated and hardworking. Like, why don't we try to work on something together? And I do find that is a better basis for long-term, business relationships, or all relationships, but business especially.
Yeah. So when you're doing interviews, do you prefer Zoom or do you prefer face-to-face?
So when I do interviews, I always start just on the phone. I specifically do not want to do Zoom or face-to-face initially. I want to hear how the people speak, how they present themselves on the phone, just articulate, and how they articulate. And then I kind of don't want to be distracted by the way that they look, if that makes sense. Also, because I do think a lot of the business still is going to be handled over the phone in many cases, not always in Zoom. So I do a stepped thing. I talk to them first on the phone for an initial conversation of like 30 minutes or less. Then I weed out, a large number of people that way. Then I will schedule a Zoom, and we'll talk via Zoom for a longer period of time, maybe an hour, or potentially longer. And then once we have gone through that process, it does give me a little insight into how they present visually, and it either confirms or denies my initial impression of them. And then the final step is, like, I have them come in at least once to meet in person, see the office, and then take it from there. So usually the people that are actually getting to the in-person interview are 10% of the people that apply.
So so just to be clear, you're like a team lead that has people under you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how many people do you have under you?
So we are a team of 6 right now.
Okay. Good. Okay. So that'll lead me into the next question. Are you looking to expand your team in 2025? And if you are, what are you using to get there?
Yeah. So I am probably going to try and take on a commercial agent. So I have 2 sides of the team. I have commercial, a couple of guys who are focused on commercial, and then with a focus on hospitality and restaurants. And then I have a few people on the team that are focused just on residential. So I am looking for a motivated, hungry, commercial agent this coming year. And then on the residential side, it probably would be more opportunistic as far as who, if I come across somebody who I think is great, then I might be one to bring people on the team that way.
All right. So a few more questions. The future and vision of your team. Okay. So how it's constantly changing. How do you stay ahead of the curve? What's some things you do personally to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, it's funny. I was just having a conversation with a high value seller, right? We're in the midst of some listing conversations, and he had a good point, which is the industry is changing a lot right now, right? There's a lot of rule changes, a lot of regulations, and sort of like how we conduct a business and what kind of forms we need to use and disclosures and who's paying. And I think that one of the things that you have to do, and to me, it's a little bit of an entrepreneurial thing, which is you have to be willing to pivot and you have to be willing to be flexible, right? So if you are stuck in your old ways and like, we should be getting, we should be getting 3%, 6% total. It should be 3 to the buy side and 3 to the listing side, and like anything else is, not okay.
that's going to be a tough road to hoe in the future, I think. So being open to being, so like one of the conversations I just had with this guy is he's like, I don't want to pay the buyer's agent. I don't think they're worthwhile. I had a long conversation with him why I think buyer's agents are very worthwhile. But at the same time, he's like, on the, I don't know what it works out to a percentage, but he wanted to offer, like 0.5% to the buy side. And what I told him is like, look, I would rather not even state that. I'm going to state that you're going to be willing to negotiate the buy side commission, because I think that's actually better. Saying that is better than saying I'm going to offer you 0.5%, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would actually accept some of the terms that I'm like talking to this guy about doing, currently for any property, but it is a high value listing. There's some pretty unique things about this property, and some ways that I can really like sink my teeth into to market it directly and sort of to a certain demographic. And car owners is actually one of the demographics here. But I think that I'm willing to give it a try, right? This is not my preferred method. I would much rather be able to go to all go to the wide brokerage community and say, hey, I've got, the seller's up willing to offer 2.5% to the buy side, 3%, whatever. But that's not the case. And I'm willing to give it a try and because it is somewhat of a brave new world here in terms of, what we're dealing with on brokerage fees and commissions, et cetera. So,
Okay.
So I think being flexible, trying to negotiate a deal, much the way we do it, right? As brokers, when we have tough deals, what do? We don't sort of throw up our hands and say, I'm going to give up on this. You figure out the next step. You figure out what baby step you can make in the right direction of actually getting to agreement. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And I'm trying to be flexible on it. So.
Yeah. I mean, you never say the word can't do that, and that's not going to work. You always look for a positive outcome so you can get that, It's not, no, I can't do that. I mean, flexibility is number one key. All right. Let's say we fast forward 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself, and where do you see, your part of the business?
So that's a great question. It's funny. I asked that exact question to anybody who's considering joining the team. I say, if you could snap your fingers 5 years from now, what does your life look like? What does your career look like? So, and nobody's asked it to me, so I appreciate the question. I find, 5 years from now, I've been, I don't want to say pivoting, but I've been evolving my business. I've been doing the brokerage thing at a high level for a long time, selling single properties. Not to say that you don't have to put effort and care into each one of these things, but I can do it with my eyes closed and my hands tied behind my back, it feels like, right? So, so for me, one of my biggest concerns is actually, it's not exactly growth of the business, it's evolution of the business and learning new things and not getting bored with what I'm doing. So for me, growth is kind of a part of that, right? If I'm not growing, then sometimes I get a little bored. But the thing that I would like to see in 5 years is to I've been developing the new development side of marketing and sales a little bit. I've recently started working a little bit with Related and Lennar, project that they're working on in Tuxedo. I'm very excited to be working on that with them. And I also have been creating I think a great pitch for small to mid-sized developers in and around New York City. And truthfully, the marketing, the real estate marketing side of things, I can do anywhere in the world for property. But the goal here, one of the things I've noticed as a broker is that as I've toured on the buy side, small new developments in New York City, and that by that it means like, it could be anywhere from 6 units to 40 units or 50 units, let's say. I see a lot of subpar brokerage and marketing for these little developers. and I believe that I can bring world-class marketing, which I already do for individual properties, and bring that to small and mid-sized developers around we'll say around the country, but primarily currently focused on New York City. So 5 years from now, I would like to see that business, firing on all cylinders, with several buildings in the pipeline and several buildings active that I'm marketing and branding as a team, as well as keeping the commercial side of my business, keeping those guys occupied and growing on the hospitality side of things, which they seem to be doing pretty nicely. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Last two questions. Okay. If you could give a person that wants to be a team leader 2 pieces of advice before they did it, what are they?
2 pieces of advice. 1, be prepared to answer a lot of questions and spend a lot of time. Make sure your patience level is where it needs to be. I think that I have had periods in my life and career where I've been more stressed out about things, and that can affect your relationships. So I think you've got to be prepared for the patience and the care that comes into working with other people, especially people who are depending on you in some way or shape or form, as a leader or literally as for salaries in some cases. And I think that part of that comes down to a level of maintaining self-care, right? So I'm a big meditator, and I teach meditation to real estate agents. I've taught meditation weekly in various venues around the city. And I really believe, not only do I believe in the benefits, I've seen the benefits of a meditation practice that having such a positive effect on me. I want to share it with other people, but I also know that it is kind of like a workout regimen, right? So if we don't continue to do it consistently, then it's like we get out of shape. The same way we might get out of shape if we don't exercise. So for me, figuring out what that is in your life that you need to help you navigate the ups and downs of life is super important when dealing with other people in a compassionate, human, and intelligent way. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's good. I like that.
Yeah.
You're the first one that's talked about self-care. So I've done a lot of these. So thanks for that. We appreciate that. That's good. I mean, a lot of people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I've never even thought about that. That's why we love doing these. Some people bring up things you've never even thought of, right? So that's the best thing.
So
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I was interviewed for New York Magazine on an article about meditation and real estate agents. It's actually called, I didn't love the title, but it's called The Woo-Woo Agents of Real Estate. And one of the things that I talked about there, the person writing the article didn't really know about meditation, but was trying to understand it and how it could intersect with real estate. And I think that the thing about it is, it's almost like a dirty secret, right? So meditation is something that really helps you in your life, right? It helps you be more patient. It helps you be more focused. Dan Harris has coined the term 10% happier, right? So meditation does make you happy. Sometimes people come to meditation with certain preconceptions about what it's going to do, but it does have these positive effects. And the most important thing that you get from a meditation practice is sort of a breaking down, a deconstruction of the ego and an attachment, or not attachment is the wrong word, but a presence in the moment, right? In the now. And when you have that and you're dealing with somebody, whether it's somebody on your team or whether it's a difficult negotiation, right, with another broker or a difficult client, which we all deal with, right? What that ability to be present in moments of stress allows you to do is interact. The Buddhist terms of it is skillful interaction with the world, right? So but in effect, what that means is I can notice if I'm lucky and I'm present, and I practice being present, I can notice when I'm starting to get upset about something, right? For example, I'm starting to get upset about the way that somebody is talking to me, or somebody's changing terms, or like, and when I notice that I'm feeling a certain way, then I have the ability to choose how I want to react to things. And that ability to choose to not just be reactive, right, is the ability to make smart, good decisions in that moment. And when you're negotiating things and it's like a contentious kind of thing, whether it's like with a guy who wants you to accept all kinds of crazy terms in a listing agreement, or whether it's on an actual deal, that ability to keep a calm head and to recognize where that person is coming from, and also really in a way to hear what's not being said, right? To read in between the lines of what is being said, to understand what the other person in the situation is trying to get from you or is upset about, and then also how you're feeling and what you are, saying, feeling, and should be saying, and feeling and shouldn't be saying. That ability is an amazing life tool and super applicable to negotiations of any kind, right?
I totally agree. I always find body language is the tell for people. You can always tell in someone's body language, how they sit, if they sit with their arms crossed, if they're sitting forward, you can always tell right away within the first 10 seconds how that's going to go. So,
and I think even almost as importantly, when you pay attention to when you're aware of your own body language, and it doesn't even need to be like language, it can just be aware of like, am I feeling really tense right now, right? Like, how is my body feeling in this moment that I'm talking to you, right? For example, right? It informs me actually about how my mind is doing. If my body's relaxed, then my mind is probably relaxed. If my body is tensed up, guaranteed my mind is the same way.
Oh, yeah. It just all goes back to that. So this is going to be an interesting question. I've been waiting to ask you this after talking about all this. You're a book you would recommend, or a book you're currently reading for people?
So it's funny. I've got the Full Fee Agent by what's his name? It's Chris Voss. Somebody gave that to me. I've got it sitting over on my bedside, and I am looking forward to reading that. But the book that I have read and that I would recommend would actually be a book called Buddhism Plain and Simple by Steve Hagen. I should qualify it by saying I am not interested in sort of the religious trappings of Buddhist practice or meditation. I see it as a practice of mind. And one of the things that the Zen guys, this guy Steve Hagen was a Zen guy out of Minnesota, I believe. I just find that the way that he communicates these lessons on meditation are really great. And they're very clear, and there's a wisdom in the book. And I think that along the lines of what we were just talking about, I think that would be a great book for people to pick up and read, with the recognition that you can kind of apply it not just to your daily life, but to your business as well.
Yeah. So this has been an incredible conversation. We appreciate everybody that does this. This is your time to give the shout outs to your company, Facebook, webpage, everything, Instagram. So go for it.
Yeah. So my website is carytamura.com, CaryTamura.com. My Instagram is also Cary Tamura. I think I'm the only Cary Tamura on Instagram, so you can follow me there. And then the new development stuff that I'm working on is called Aligned Projects, and that's ALIGNED, alignedprojects.com. So, I certainly, if there are people in the area, in the New York City market, that are interested in talking with me about this stuff, I'm happy to continue that conversation. That and on the meditation side of things.